And let's close the podcast, Sean, talking about the reigning Big 12 champions from last year. They beat TCU. They went to the playoff in the Rose Bowl, and they lost to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Fun game,
did not
though.
go past. It was the best. I would say the best play. The championship game was good, but I might say
like
the
the Rose Bowl better.
Oklahoma-Georgia game could be the best game of the playoff.
I'd agree with that.
In like the last X amount of years. Do you think it's better than Clemson-Alabama championship games?
No, that was fun.
Okay. I think it's like the Clemson-Alabama games, then that Rose Bowl game. So it's in the top three.
And then I would
for
say
sure.
I'd throw in the Alabama-Georgia game.
The
Right
championship.
behind it, yeah.
3 championships with a semifinal in there. Usually the semifinals have been duds.
I think fifth would probably be that Washington-Alabama game.
But is that better than the Alabama-Michigan State game from the first year that we had the playoff?
What was the blowout one where Ohio State got destroyed by Clemson? I liked watching that one because I hate Ohio State.
Wasn't that 2 years ago?
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That was the same year that Alabama lost or beat Washington.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
I think that was the same year. But we're talking about Oklahoma in this last section of the podcast. And the first question I'm going to ask you is simple.
Timeout.
Yep.
I know what we're going to get to.
Okay.
I know we're talking about the boy Kyler Murray, former future Moneyball star of Oakland A's. But I want to
outfielder, right?
Stop
outfielder?
Yeah, outfielder. I want to stop. He's center fielder. I want to stop you right here because Oklahoma Sooner fans. Some of these people are just Googling Oklahoma football preview. They're probably looking for somebody who really knows their stuff about Oklahoma football. I might not be that guy, but I want to piss them off right away. And I'm dead serious when I'm talking about.
You gonna hook them
here.
horns?
No, I'm not hooking them horns.
Okay.
This is nuclear take time. This isn't about Kyler Murray. This is about the game on Saturday, September 1st. Fox, 12 p.m. Eastern. They're welcoming the Owls from Florida Atlantic. Lane Kiffin with the upset. First game, first loss. Florida Atlantic beats Oklahoma. Book it.
What would that even like?
Book
that
it.
would send seismic ripples through the college football
Lane
world.
Kiffin would be throwing massive parties. He would be balling out, and it's going to happen because he's going to go into Norman, and he's going to beat the Sooners.
Well, I mean,
this is going to be the level of Appalachian State over Michigan. Probably not. But it's going to be a victory for the Owls over Oklahoma.
Well, and I know you might be a little bit joking with that.
I'm not.
I'm
dead serious. I'm not betting anything because I've been bad with bets recently.
Well, this doesn't.
But I will take
doesn't
Florida,
have to include LeBron.
I will take Florida Atlantic to win this game.
You gonna
paint, here.
You gonna paint your face maroon and white?
No. I will take Florida Atlantic to beat Oklahoma.
Okay.
I'll probably forget about this, but I will bet if Oklahoma wins, I will make my Twitter profile picture a picture of good old Lincoln Riley.
For how long?
For a month.
For a month?
For a month.
For a month of the entire football season.
I'll do it for the entire football season.
Okay.
I will make my Twitter profile at Schwarbo. If Oklahoma beats FAU, my picture will be Lincoln Riley for the entire regular season.
Sean's like, I can't bet another car. Yeah. I can't paint my face
for the entire
again.
regular season. So after the Friday, November 23rd game for Oklahoma, if they, after the end of that game, I will change my profile picture. But for the rest of the season, for that Oklahoma season, I will have Lincoln Riley as my profile picture.
To go off of that, though, that comment about Florida Atlantic, I want to ask you this. Not necessarily Kyler Murphy, but Murray. I keep calling him Kyler Murphy. Kyler Murray. Is this going to be a year? Because Baker, to me, it's like Baker was up here. Baker had that it factor. He had what the national media kept saying, the chip on his shoulder. Kyler Murray, to me, doesn't have that. He doesn't seem like the same. He doesn't have the same ingredients in the pot
I don't think anyone does.
Baker Mayfield had.
I don't think anyone does.
Will this be a year for Oklahoma where they take a step back, overall? Not necessarily losing to the Owls week 1, but take a step back, enough of a step back where it's like, wow, we finished third and we're not going to make the playoff. We're not even going to win the conference title.
I think it's going to be a step back just because you're not going to be going to the playoffs. So, I mean, it's going to be a step back in just that mindset. I don't think it's going to be a bad season in any way, though. I don't think you're going to be finishing with one loss, and that one loss being two losses, and the last loss being in the playoff. But I think this is a team that is going to take a step back in the sense of not being a top 4 team of college football. this year. But I think this is still going to be a team that's going to be top 15. I think Lincoln Riley's still going to trot out a really good program this year. You're not going to have that marquee win over Ohio State. You're not going to have that heartbreaking loss against Iowa State. But I think you can handle TCU. I think I have TCU beating you this year. But I think that's probably going to be the only loss you have in the Big 12 this year. I think you're going to finish the season with 2 losses. Being against TCU at TCU, they get that revenge for you stomping on them last year. I think it's going to be something that's going to be kind of a chip on the shoulder of Gary Patterson and his Horned Frog teams. That's why they get the win. But I think you're going to win the Red River rivalry this year.
That's a tongue twister.
You're going to beat Iowa State. You're going to beat Baylor. You're going to beat Kansas. You're going to beat Kansas State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. West Virginia is going to be a kind of an edge game, but that might be a game that, again, Lincoln Riley, especially Kyler Murray, is going to have a ton of experience as a quarterback then. And then, Lincoln Riley is really going to have to get his guys up because maybe you'll be pushing for a Big 12 title appearance, and then that might lead to another playoff appearance. But I think this is going to be a little bit of a down year because you're not going to be undefeated, or you're not going to be, a playoff team, but you're at least going to be a team that finishes again with a one loss in the conference.
How I see this season playing out for Oklahoma is I see them being the 3rd best team in this conference. And it's like, you say that and I think people will be like, oh man, that's a bad season. We got to be Oklahoma fans are probably like, we're going to win the conference again with Murray. We're going to go ahead and be one of the top 2 teams, be in the conference title. I don't think this team makes the conference title this year. I think that 2 things that we'll look at is, one, I feel like one of the storylines will be, especially coming into the year, of how much of the credit last year goes to Baker Mayfield and how much of the credit goes to Lincoln Riley. And Murray is going to answer that question for us, because if he's able to win games like Baker Mayfield, then it's like, all right, Lincoln Riley's system is more the, not saying that Baker didn't help, because the other thing I'm going
to cut you off. I know it's rude, but I want to cut you off here just because we got to look at what Baker was. Baker was a guy that had a massive chip on his shoulder, but also he was a veteran. I mean, this was a guy that was a senior, was in multiple programs, had to work his ass off. I'm not saying Kyler hasn't, but Kyler
also
isn't a guy that
multiple program guy.
Yeah, Kyler isn't a guy that at least has that experience at quarterback. I mean, we look at Baker. I mean, he was a senior, massive leader, 23 years old, I think he was. Kyler, still a young kid, so he doesn't have that experience. I think that's going to be something that is going to be a step down, at least for Oklahoma. I think that's going to be something that does really affect this team. That's why I have him losing to Florida Atlantic, because it's going to be Kyler Murray's first game starting as a quarterback after the Baker era. This is going to be massive expectations. I think Lane Kiffin, with his offense, is going to be able to put the pressure on Oklahoma's defense, which isn't that good at all. And it's going to show the deficiencies that were really hidden by Baker's great play and Kyler not having that experience to really rally up a team and take them back and win a game. That's why Florida Atlantic will win it. Now, I'm not saying that Kyler Murray is going to lead Oklahoma to a bad season. I still think there's going to be one loss for the rest of the season. I think you only get have 2 losses when Friday, November 23rd is over and done with. I think you only have 2 losses on the season. But the thing that the difference between Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield isn't really going to be the quarterback play. Obviously, it's going to be lesser, but we all expect that. It's just going to be that this team isn't going to have that same edge, and this team isn't going to be what seemed well-rounded last year. But the pressure that Baker put on every other defense was massive, and then they weren't able to keep the defense and offensive fresh. And then I think the other thing, too, is that Baker gave this team so much confidence. I don't think Kyler will be able to demand that in his first year being a starter.
Did you say, you said he's never started before? Are you just talking about at Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Okay, because the reason I was going to bring that up was he did have 3 starts. This was 2015, so 3 years ago. He did start against the Gamecocks, South Carolina. They won that game, but then it was interesting. The next game at Texas A&M, they play Auburn. He starts. Jake Hubernack comes in, plays some snaps, and then against West Carolina, it might have been because it was a blowout, but we saw Kyle Allen in that game as well. But Murray got the start in that one, and that was a 41-17 game. So that was probably not crunch time, blowout time, that Allen came in. And with Kyler Murray, I feel like he was going to be the starter for Sumlin and the Aggies. decided to get out, had to sit that year out in 2016. 2017, Baker had the job. And now it's going to be, yes, you've started games before, but you're so far removed from that. Like I said, it's been 3 years since Kyler Murray has started a football game. Because he didn't start a game last year. Baker started them all. He didn't even play in 2016 because of the transfer rules in college. And to me, I feel like Baker Mayfield, one of the best things that he did last year with that offense was, this was the second point I was going to make, they covered up deficiencies of the defense. I don't think Kyler Murray does that same thing with this offense. He is not going to cover up the defense deficiencies that Baker Mayfield did, and that's going to allow teams like TCU, like a Texas, to get wins this year, maybe even in Iowa State, to get wins this year against the Oklahoma Sooners.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the thing, is that, again, you're not going to be able to hide those deficiencies. I still think this is a talented team. I still think Lincoln Riley's a great coach, and this isn't going to be a team that isn't going to be, taking that much of a fall off.
It's not going to be like, wow, first-year head coach, college football playoff. What? Only 2 wins? Huh?
Yeah,
What's going on?
It's not going to be like that. It's not a fluke.
Yeah.
And I think looking over, everything, you're still going to be in that range of 10 to 12 wins. 10 to 12. I think you could probably finish with one loss, and that one loss probably being to one of the Big 12 teams. I mean, most likely you're not going to lose to Florida Atlantic. I'm still sticking by it. They're still winning. The Owls are.
That'd be awesome, though.
It's going to happen.
Like, for just college football in general, I know Sooner fans will hate it, but that'd be pretty cool.
It's still going to be a successful year for Oklahoma. I mean, even though they don't have Baker.
10-2, that's what I got them.
Yeah, even though they don't have Baker, they still have Rodney Anderson, who is a game-changing running back. They still have Brown on the outside, who is a great wide receiver. And they still have playmakers. And Kyler is at least not going to be totally lost out there. This isn't going to be a team starting from the scratch. They lost Baker, which is huge. And that's the biggest thing. But Kyler is very talented, and at least they're not going to be losing at least the talent. And he does bring something that Baker doesn't, which is that mobility. I mean, Baker was pretty mobile for him, but Kyler's the next level of mobility. I mean, he's super quick, super agile as a runner. He is more of a runner than Baker is. He's not that same arm strength. He's not that same leader as Baker is, but he's still very talented. And that's why Oklahoma's still going to win 10+ games this year. But it really boils down to they won't have that same leader that Baker was, and that's why they're not going to have the same success as they did last year.
Well, and here's the question that I have. And for just the beginning of the season, like for me, my prediction for Oklahoma, you're 10-2 this year, and your losses come against Texas, against TCU. The rest of the games you win. The thing, though, that I question beginning of the year, because although I feel like they'll win those games, Florida Atlantic comes in. They're say what you want about Lane Kiffin. He's going to have that team prepared. Do they get a win? I don't know. Maybe. You seem to think so. I wouldn't put my money on it.
I'm going to put money on it, put my Twitter on it.
Lane Kiffin is going to have those guys ready to play. Then also you got UCLA. Yeah, they don't have Josh Rosen. Chip Kelly's biggest question is going to be, can he find the replacement to Josh Rosen? But that's going to be an interesting team to see how that team looks in week 2 with Chip Kelly and his offensive system, because we know his offensive system works in college. We saw it at Oregon, and then you're at Iowa State, which Iowa State, they could be a spoiler. They could be a sneaky sleeper team this year in the Big 12, and they're a team that could already have confidence coming into that week 3 game, because guess what? We beat you last year, and you had Baker Mayfield. So, I mean, this is a team that, how I look at it, is the first 3 games are going to be crucial. Then Army and Baylor, you get to, in my mindset, the players won't, but in my mindset, you take a step back. Yep. Then you got 2 tough games, Red River rivalry, TCU. Then it's like, okay, you should win the next 4, and then you're in Morgantown for the last game. So, I mean, for me, it's can you survive these waves? More importantly, the first 3 games, and then the Texas TCU.
I think it's more of a lock that you beat UCLA than it is Florida Atlantic because Chip Kelly in his first year, it's going to be. I know he's had success before.
He's got to implement that offense.
It's going to take a while before Chip Kelly really explodes. So I think that's definitely a winnable game, especially in Norman.
And it's a home game.
Yeah,
it's not
especially in Norman.
LA.
So, and especially if they lose against Florida Atlantic, they need to win that game, or Lincoln Riley might be getting fired. Not really, but again, that would be a huge,
crazy, not joking,
insane thing if that happened. I think again they lose to Florida Atlantic. Take that as seriously as you must. They beat UCLA, they beat Iowa State, they beat Army, they beat Texas, they beat Baylor. They lose to TCU, they beat Kansas State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, Kansas, West Virginia, and they go to the Big 12 title game, and they are able to get their revenge on TCU. It depends on if they're able to or not, where they'll end up finishing in the in the college football rankings. But they're going to be a top 10 team throughout this whole season.
I mentioned the first 3 games. It'll be interesting to see if those games even pose trouble for the Sooners. It's funny that I bring that up because I do have them winning those 3 games. The only games that I see them losing, if any, Texas, TCU. I think they're going to be a 2-loss team. They'll miss out. They'll watch Texas and TCU play for the Big 12 title game, and they will be sitting at home. However, the third team, they will get into a bowl game, and they will play. And then the question is at the end of the year does Kyler Murray at the end of this season go, bye, guys, I'm going to go play baseball in Oakland?
Yeah. It's going to happen. I mean, he's gone.
You think he's going to baseball?
He's signed. They gave him 1 year. It's not a question. He's gone.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Because we got this in a comment section for one of our videos. I can't remember which one. Do you think it's I'm going to use the word stupid because that's what the commenter used. Do you think it's stupid for if Kyler Murray is going to baseball at the end of the year to even play this football season and risk injury?
No, because first off, he doesn't have an option. He's going to baseball no matter what. The A's are letting him play.
Well,
football at OK.
Then if you're going to baseball, like the commenter was, he's stupid. He's risking injury. Do you see the same mindset of if you're going to baseball, why risk injury playing a much physical sport than baseball?
Bomani Jones thinks the same thing too. He said it's the dumbest thing he's ever heard. I think it's. I miss
Bomani with the panky ring.
I think it's something where it's a risk, it's a gamble, but I don't think it's idiotic. There's definitely a risk and gamble in it, but also if he's able to at least hit and he's able to stay healthy and he's able to have let Oklahoma have a good year, that's going to open him up to possibly pulling a Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders, where he might be able to make that transition later on in his career if he wants to. Okay, well, Bo.
They actually played.
They actually played.
I'm just saying Russell Wilson could if he wanted to.
Russell Wilson is more in the mindset of Tim Tebow than he is Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. But Kyler could possibly open up his ability to do that. It's a risk and a gamble, but it can make him a star because if he blows up at Oklahoma like Baker did, then that's going to draw attraction to the A's, and that's going to drive up the price because one thing that's too different about baseball and football is if he's a star, he's going to be able to command, and he's able to really hit on being a great baseball player. If he's able to hit on being a great baseball player, have that dual threat of baseball fans enjoying him and football fans enjoying him, melding those two worlds. He might be able to demand $300 million, $400 million, and you're not able to do that in football. Those contracts in baseball are guaranteed, where they're not in football. So it's a risk, it's a gamble, but I think it might be worth it in the end for Kyler Murray. And the one thing too is he might deal with concussions, but you're going to a sport in baseball that is going to be less physical on you,
unless you get hit by an Aroldis Chapman 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
But that typically does not happen.
Yeah, unless like the pitcher's actually throwing at you. But how often does that happen? You just got to follow these unwritten rules that baseball is always talking about. I see what Kyler Murray is doing. Like, it's the way I'm looking at it is he knows he's going to go to baseball, and it's kind of like that. I almost relate it to that. He's got
nothing to lose.
Well, I relate it to that quarterback who is at a smaller school. It's his senior year. This guy's not going to the NFL. I love the game. I'm playing it just my last season. That's what he's doing. This might be the last time he plays football.
It might.
if he doesn't do the Bo Jackson thing.
But the thing is that, a guy at a small school who's a senior doesn't have NFL hopes.
Exactly.
Kyler Murray's a different level athlete.
Well,
so.
and if Kyler Murray then wows people, he can say, am I going to go to football? Do I go to baseball? Like, what do I do?
He's not. There is no question. He's going to baseball.
Well, okay, goes to baseball then for a year.
$5 million to Oakland.
What I'm saying is...
He's got to fulfill that contract. He's going to baseball, Ricky. It's not a question.
Then I'm on the side of why do you play? Like, why do you play? Because I wouldn't want to risk injury. However, I'm on the side of I get why you're playing because it'll probably be the last time he ever plays football again at that point. Well,
and I think it's more of the ability to build his name up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he's playing at Oklahoma, he's going to have eyes on him. He's going to be on Fox, ESPN, ABC, all these massive programs.
His first two games for sure on Fox. His last one for sure is on ESPN.
People are going to know the name Kyler Murray, and then it's better than when you're. I forget the Oakland minor league teams, but it's better playing in Oklahoma than it is in Boo-Foo River Valley River Cats. I mean, he's going to be able to draw names and be a bigger name playing in Oklahoma.
The AAA team is the Nashville Sound.
Yep,
Nashville's not that bad. You've got the Midland Rockhounds. I believe that's Texas. Then you've got the A Advance. That would be the Stockton Ports. Then the Benoit Snappers. That's a single A team. Then the SS Rousters, the Vermont Lake Monsters. And then you have the
he's probably gonna
AZL Athletics and the DSL
He's going to start at Midland.
Yeah.
So.
Well, AA, you think? Not even AAA? You think he starts in AA?
AA. For
so
sure.
He's going to be the Midland Rockhounds?
Yeah.
Which, hey, you know what? If that's in Texas, that might be some rocky territory for a former Sooner.
Maybe. If Texas beats them, maybe not.
But this is where you come in. The camera has died on us, Sean, so it's
I didn't even know we were talking
our
about
audio. Well, I didn't check the camera battery. That was on me. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below.
Died? It didn't?
Yeah. Okay. We're not over the 30. The camera battery must have died. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Housekeeping here at the end.
Go Florida Atlantic.
Make sure to check out Patreon. Well, you could say go Florida Atlantic for our little housekeeping. Check out Patreon if you want to help support us more so than listening and watching our videos. Make sure to check out our store. That link is down below in the description. You can also check that out on MVPMostValuedPodcast.com. And then you can also check out MostValuedPodcast.com for everything MVP each and every day. And last but not least, please go into iTunes, give the Primetime Podcast and all the MVP Podcast a 5-star rating. Want to thank you guys for watching, listening. I want to thank everyone for listening because that's what you're doing right now. And as always, have a good day, everybody.